Good morning, y'all. Um, thank you for uh, clicking. Well, I said something and it rhymed, and now I don't remember. But I had to start the recording over. I said something like, "Thank you for clicking to listen," something like that. So, anyways, okay, I gotta start over because my app had closed. Okay. So today is Friday, January the 23rd, 2026. And I was saying it's been a while since I've recorded for my channel. But I had been taking some time off from just things beyond work because my energy had been low. I was on my period last week. The new moon was approaching, so it was like low energy in the moon space, and I'm a moon child. And I also said that I also put in for a leave of absence from work for some time coming up. And I then was beginning to talk about the previous time that I did a leave of absence, which was 3 years ago. And it wasn't this job, it was a different job. And I took the leave of absence because I was pushed to do so. I had gotten very sick. And I was working at night, overnight, and I was in a position that, for the most part, I liked. I liked the work that I was doing. I was good at it. I didn't like the team I was a part of, can't lie. I was working with people who I just wasn't in alignment with, which is that's common for me, unfortunately. But anyways, I had gotten sick. I'm being led to talk about this. I had gotten sick, but what led to me getting sick, I have to admit, was connecting with the wrong people. And I feel some emotion coming up, bro. I feel some emotion. Let me turn off one of my big lights. It's distracted me. My peripheral. Super big light. Ouch. Look how I got distracted when I started talking emotional. I caught that. Okay, so let's talk about that time. It was 2023. I think this is significant to talk about right now because I've been thinking about this girl a little bit. I had a friend, a girl that I had met, a woman. I had met at work some months before that time had come, it was like March. Actually, when I started my leave, it was March 22nd, 21st, 22nd. So right now we're in January. But honestly, I think I'm just ahead of the curve this time because I'm not distracted. And I just feel all throughout my spirit and bones that I need to take the month of February off from work and tend to myself. But yeah, I'm being pushed to talk about that time. So I met this girl at work. We just clicked, right? I was in a semi kind of leadership position, which I always get put into leadership positions, and it was a very like kind of unique position where I was kind of in charge of a subset group of associates, and there was a day that she had to come to my area, and they put her with me, which it was obvious because we both black, and like my other leadership, they weren't black, and so I think they put her with me. So yeah, and I was nice. And she was a little edgy and rough around the edges a little bit. So anyway, we started to connect and bond kind of a little bit. I think of like trauma bonding because we were kind of connecting through like things that we had been through and like really our pain. You know, I don't have a problem sharing background stories, but I think it's just you have to have an eye for it when it's to discern if it's trauma bonding or not. Because you can connect with somebody through sharing backgrounds, but it doesn't have to be a trauma bond. For me and her, I think it was a trauma bond, because then what happened is we started to find, at least for sure for me, it seemed as if we both were starting to find some comfort in each other or in our connection because of what we had gone through. And so what we started to create together was based on what we had each gone through. And I think that becomes a trauma bond. That's how you make a trauma bond. So, like, she had kids and started to, like, really connect me to her kids, her children, especially her son. And that was a little weird. Initially to me, not really, because I'm an auntie. And so, and I have more nephews and nieces. And, but I just thought it was weird because her son was not like a little kid, like he was a teenager, and it just seemed like she was, like, even when we met and we were bonding kind of, she even brought up that people would, like, sometimes suspect that she was gay. And she not gay at all. But then the way she was having me, like, connect with her kids, primarily her son, she had a daughter too who was older, but it started with her son. It was, to me, it almost felt like she was trying to make me family, as if we were, like, together. But it also could have been seen from, and this is kind of the route it was going, as time passed some more, it was as if, like, I'm her sister, and so we kind of started to use that lingo, no lie. I even saved her son's number in my phone as, like, in parentheses, nephew. There was a time where we met up at Dave and Buster's and her kids was with her, and her daughter, like, ran up to me to, like, hug me. And so it was a cute little group, and I really did like them, but she was a problem. Like, not the daughter, the friend. She was a problem. She was a problem. And I say that because, for instance, one time we meet up at Dave and Buster's. Me and her went to Dave and Buster's before by ourselves without the kids. And there was another time we all four went. And I think we all four might have gone more than once. I can't remember, but we definitely went once. And she was having, like, a narcissistic episode, and I knew what it was when I started to see it, and I hated it because I hate that shit. That's how my adoptive mother was. When we all get together to have fun, and it should be a fun time, but you bringing negativity to the table for no reason, like, just to bring the mood down or just to make yourself the center of attention. So that was another thing. It's like, for me, I've been in a lot of situations where everybody wants my attention. Like, everybody wants to be the center of my attention. And oftentimes, unfortunately, when it's adults and children, the adults are the worst. And so she was, it kind of was like that. And then I don't know if she was triggered by her daughter running up to me to hug me. She actually had mentioned that later on at another time. Not in a negative way, but she brought it up like it was noted. I don't know if it was that. I don't know what it was, but she was bringing some nasty energy to this very small area that we all were in. We were at this table, and it already wasn't like a big space. And it was like, now we are stuck here with your negative energy. And I wasn't feeling that at all. Like, I did not like that at all. And that to me was like a huge red flag. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, we're only there because you wanted us all to be, like, this is her call for us to, go out. Like, she was initiating most of the things that she and I would do, or her, and the kids would do. Me, her, and her son went to the movies, I think, more than once before. And yeah, we did multiple things, really. I slept over her house on the couch, and that was another time where I had a dream, but it wasn't a dream. Like, it was a dream, but not a dream, because I was asleep, but I was awake. Like, and basically my spirit showed me that she was a bad energy spiritually. Like, she was into something that I'm not into. And I do believe it was something where she was using her children, especially her son. Harder to use her daughter, because her daughter was this very feisty, like, fiery, like, she took after her mama, but she was even worse. Her son was more mellow, definitely reminded me of my nephew, and definitely reminded me of my ex's son, who I also used to be close to. But she was like using him just like my ex would use his son, which is crazy. So, and I don't know how to fully explain it, but I saw like her doing something with her son. It was like a chanting or something, and it was weird. It was strange, and I saw it, but it was almost like my conscience, like, rose up out of me and saw what was going on while, like, my body was asleep, type of thing. Very strange. And um and I also had a dream later on, like after that moment, much later on, after I stopped talking to her, um that showed me, like, it was her and a man and something about somebody's chain with a pentagram on it, and like, it was definitely like some witchcraft going on, and something being thrown in my direction. Something, yeah, she was into something devious, and was definitely trying to benefit off of me in some type of way. And this wasn't her first time doing this to somebody. Someone so-called a friend um, that she called, a friend. She also had connected me with this guy, and I thought that I was gonna be interested. That I was thought we it was like a mutual interest thing, but then it's kind of felt like she was trying to like pimp me or something. Like, I don't know. She was honestly, if I'm blunt, she was just a weird bitch. Like, ended up being a weird bitch. Like, in like, for real, for real. So there was a lot going on up to the point of me getting sick. But when I got sick, I remember that's when the alarm bells started to go off even louder, because they already kind of had started to go off. But then they really started to go off because I started to have these symptoms that I never had before, but had only been described by her not too long before I started to have symptoms. She's saying, like, she had taken a leave of absence before. She had been sick, and she was like bleeding when she wasn't supposed to be bleeding, and turned out to be some cancer, and it had went away, but she was worried it might be trying to come back and all this stuff. And then suddenly I'm in the doctor's because I'm bleeding when I'm not supposed to be bleeding. But it all was for the benefit, my benefit at the end of it all, because if I hadn't gone to the doctor, or if I hadn't gotten sick with some symptoms that made me feel like I needed to go to the doctor, um, I wouldn't have realized that my blood count was so low. Like, I'm anemic, but I wasn't necessarily ever doing nothing about it, to be honest. I also wasn't living the healthiest. I mean, I was drinking, I was smoking, um, working at night. Um, at the time, I was vegan, not even vegetarian, but vegan. So I was very, like, malnourished. And the doctor told me, like, it looked like I had based on my blood count, or with my blood levels, the way they were, it looked like I had lost a lot of blood. He said, "You haven't hemorrhaged or something like that?" I said, "No, that never happened." He said that would be obvious, because it would be a big loss of blood at once, and it would be like an emergency. I was like, "No, that never happened before to me." And then he said, "So you either have lost a lot of blood at once, or over a long period of time." So that really got me. So I was like, wow, first of all, being somebody who has had a lot of energy vampires in my life, but it's like, the spiritual and the physical, they're connected. they do connect. And she was an energy vampire, a narcissist, for sure. And wasn't the only one that I had ever come across or connected to and got really close with. And what was crazy was before I got sick, I had connected to multiple. So it was her, right? The guy that she linked me with, that she introduced me to, and me and him went out on a date. We only met up once, but we hung out for a long time on our date at Buffalo Wild Wings. But then it just became clear that he was just looking for some sex, and obviously some messages from me to him through her had gotten misconstrued and twisted and turned. That's why I said I feel like she was trying to pimp me out. Also, I had reconnected with my ex from back home, who was the biggest energy vampire narcissist that I've ever dealt with, ever. And a warlock at that too. I had reconnected with him because I had ended up in this emotional, spiritual, desperate place, and had called him, found his number and called him. And he had missed my call, but he called me back. Actually, the day he called me back, I was driving from her house in the middle of the night. That was the night I had the dream that wasn't a dream. So he was back in my energy. And the guy that, it was another ex of mine who was local, because that ex, he was still back at home in California, but I'm in a different state. So now I also have this other connection who, he also was an ex, but we had reconciled just as friends, but obviously still, I loved him, and he was still in my energy, though we weren't dating. That's why I had went out on a date. So it was very messy in my energy field. I admit it was a mess. It was a mess. Yeah, it was a bad time. I ended up in the driveway of my place during a big storm on the phone with like an emergency counselor through my employee benefits, like with the darkest thoughts that I had going through my mind, like, and I'm just trying to stay sane enough to explain, like, as best as possible what's going on inside of me, feeling like I want to end my life. And I was wondering, like, she was talking to me like, do you could go to the ER, like, you can always do that, you can, and she was just like talking me through the moment. It was a lot going on, bro. It was a hurtful time because it was just so many people showing themselves to be in my energy just for their benefit and not my own at all. Just sucking the life from me. That's why I say it was like a blessing in disguise when I went to the doctor and my blood count was so low. And I didn't know, because I don't even like going to the doctors like that, to be honest. But I was pushed to go because I wasn't planning to take no time off from work. It's just I was sick. So I was missing days. So I had to go to the doctor to get a doctor's note to see if my time could get excused or whatever. So first I'm away from work because I'm physically sick. But then the mental caught up. So it was like just like my life was like being saved. I had to clean up my life, my energy field. I want to say again, or just some more. I had already started to before. So, but it was just like, yeah, like my life force being drained for me. I remember talking to my adopted sister on the phone, trying to tell her like what I was going through. And it's just like my spiritual eyes was opening, so it was like an awakening. It's so fucking disappointing and hurtful because everybody, I don't know what that year was. Oh, wait, no, I do know. I was 33. Now that I think about it, that was shortly after I had turned 33. And it's like everybody was coming for me, bro, spiritually, energetically, financially. It just makes me cry because my sister, my adoptive sister, who I used to be so close with, and I loved her so much. It was like she was revealed because I remember having conversations with my ex who she knew because her son, my nephew, is his best friend's son. His best friend's dead now. But, so she knew him. She knew all about him. When I was home, like, back home, that was the love of my life, regardless of who else I dated. Like, we dealt with each other on and off for like 13 years. And it was no secret to my family that he was special to me. And we were on the phone and I was telling her, like, what he was saying some things to me, like, it was spiritually related, and that's when I became clear, like, oh, he's a warlock for real, and he chose the dark side. Because I always knew he was gifted, and we had no problem talking about that kind of stuff. But I think at some point he chose the dark side, and I didn't know it. And I think that I also became like a victim to that, like in his agendas. So I'm talking to my sister about this, kind of trying to. I told her, I said, I think he been doing like magic on me. And all she said was, I believe it. I could believe it. And this is me and my sister. We've never talked about this topic before. So for me, I felt like, you know stuff and you're not telling me. You know things that you've never told me. And I'm trying to tell you how I'm being affected by something that you, I believe, know about, whether you know about it regards to him and me, how it's been affecting me, or like you know something and you're not telling me, you're not talking. And I don't like that. Because then she was like, well, if you want to come here and stay with us for a while or whatever. Like, in my mind, so she said that, my spirit said, we don't trust that at all. That ain't trustworthy. You and your husband, you knowing stuff like that, and you ain't telling nobody. Like, I have to admit how you are your daughter's mother. You are your mother's daughter. Your mother's daughter. And that was just, revealed to me. And I think, was that the same year she sent me some things? They were supposed to be gifts, I guess. But they was like random. They wasn't even for my birthday. It was random. And it was like, it was a mirror, a little journal, and a keychain. And bro, I tell you, this was an awakening for me. Because I immediately knew this ain't benevolent. This ain't pure. A mirror, like a little mirror. So I just felt like she knew things, and she was involved in things regarding me and my energy as well. And it's almost like, now that I say this out loud, I'm talking about this out loud, it's almost like I go to the doctor, I learn about my blood levels, And the doctor was bewildered. I remember looking at his face while he was looking at my documents, like that was showing my test results. And he was very confused and perplexed. But he called it out, looking at my nails and my eyes before I even took my test. He said, I could tell you're very low, your blood count is low. It's like the inside of your eye is pale. It's not red. It's supposed to be pink, red. It's more of a white. It's like your nails are white, like no blood flow, which obviously would affect my brain. So that explains how I was being led to also spaz out mentally and have dark thoughts. So now I'm just this hollow vessel for all this spiritual negativity and attack coming my way because I'm 33 years old. Like my literal life was at risk. And so I feel like, from that point, I feel like spirit was just taking me on. I was on a path to have to open my eyes and see why I was in this state spiritually and physically. And I feel like what my sister sent me them bogus ass gifts. I sat down on my living room floor and I pulled cards on the gifts energy, and it was confirmed for me. I had to take it as confirmed, even though my intuition was already telling me. Like the mirror to be able to see me, right? Spiritually. Tap into me in a visual manner. A journal so I could write my thoughts down. So now you got my mind. And a keychain so you can track my movement. I threw that shit away in the trash can far away from my place. I also had my ex-best friend send me a letter, a note. It wasn't even cute or nothing like that. It was like a piece of paper just ripped out of a notebook, folded up in the envelope. It wasn't like a card bought from the store, like it wasn't. It wasn't attached to no type of gift or item. It wasn't no money. You know what I mean? It was like there was work to be done and we needed to get this done ASAP. So I remember him asking me for my address because he said, I'm gonna use you as a reference for this job. I'm applying to Amazon. I'm gonna use you as a reference, which by the way, he always would use me as a reference, but also in regards to my work, like speaking on stories regarding my work, but using it in his interview responses. That's one reason why we don't talk no more. But I remember him saying that's why he needed my address was for this reference or whatever. And then what happened was he sent me the note and said, like, I wanted your address so I could send you this. And it was a letter, but I felt like more of a note because, like I said, it was like a little journal, ripped the page out, and I think it was a one-pager. But then that made me feel like you just wanted my address, like to know where I'm at. And that was confirmed for me because I had moved from that place, but he didn't know that. Or he wasn't supposed to know that, right? But here is where, to me, you reveal that you tracking my energy also. Because then he's like, we connect one time via email, and he says something like, oh, I was going to come out there to visit you, and I was thinking of hopping on a plane, but then I realized I didn't know where I would be going because I don't have your address. It's like, I gave you my address. You sent me a note. I moved, but I didn't tell you that. So as far as you know, I would still be living at that address. But that let me know there was something else to that request. And also, this was a new request to try to get my updated address because something has now changed in her energy. So where is she now? I don't know. I need a new address. No, you're not getting my address. So yeah, that year was a big one. My eyes opening, my spiritual eyes. I never really reviewed it that way, but that sure was the year I turned 33. I cannot water that down. I was 33, and that's when that was happening. And so I was at work. What was it, around this time? That year, 2023. Oh well, January, February, all that was going past. The date with the guy at Buffalo Wild Wings that so-called friend hooked me up with, that was during that time, like this first quarter of the year, basically, to where everything was adding up. And then I'm at work on March 20. Oh, well, no, me and him actually went out on the date. It was like March 20th. It was a Sunday, I think, or Monday or something like that. I go to work. No, I go on the date with him, I think that Monday. That Tuesday, I hang out with her, the ex-friend. That doesn't go so well because I end the day feeling very drained and tired yet again, So then I go to work on that Wednesday. That was my ex-best friend's birthday, the one who was trying to track my address, location. Again, to no benefit of mine. Okay. So that was his birthday, I remember. I wake up to go to work. I go to work. I'm at work. I had to go in a little early because we had a meeting, and I had to be there a little earlier than my shift. I met with my manager, and he could tell I was sick, so I left early. So I didn't work that night. It was still daytime when I left. I went to the doctor maybe the next day or 2 days after that. And then I was just taking some time off. I was looking around for resources, trying to get some therapy again. Was trying to get short-term disability because I was diagnosed with severe depression. But I couldn't get time off approved, or at least disability benefits approved by no doctor. So no doctor that I saw, at least. And so then my leave, I turned it into just a personal leave. And then while I was on the personal leave, I just kept feeling like I can't go back to that place. I can't go back to that place, like that building. And then I decided to resign from that job and go find another job that I work in the daytime. So I just feel like that year was a year of hard work spiritually for me. And when I think about it, if I really break it down, because now I have my updated info regarding numerology, that year would have actually been for me, if I redo my numbers, 2023, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it was a 7 years, so that remains the same. But so if I do with my other numbers that general numerology says my life path is, it would have been a 1 year. 7, 8, 9. No. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11, so a 2 year. 11 or 2. But with my updated numbers, my life path actually being a 6, it would be 3, 4, 5 plus 7, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. A 12/3 year, which I feel makes more sense because 3 is a number of like community, creativity, like people around you, things you're doing with other people is so much about other people. And that's what it was. It was like a clearance of the energies around me. I had to pay a lot of attention to the people around me. everybody, and I started having to cut people off, and it was happening throughout the year. And 3 is the solar plexus chakra, so it's of the lower areas. And honestly, the whole thing with bleeding, even though that's from more of the uterus, it's still like of the lower 3 like chakras. But also like that solar plexus energy, like your light. People trying to put my light out. Also 33, turning 33 years old that year. So that's 3 threes. Really 4, because my birthday's on the 30th. So it was a lot. And then 7 being a very spiritual. 7 is not the easiest number. It's spiritual. Spiritual challenges, really. 7 and 3 were my numbers that year, and turning 33. So then there's that as well, the 369. People like to throw magic around the energies of 369, because 33 is 6 and it's 9. 3 times 3. 3 plus 3 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. So yeah. But see, I didn't know all of this at that time. But people were coming for my head. There was a tornado that happened that year too, that I really felt like was generated by spiritual activity. Like they was trying to send it my way. It was bad. Oh, and that was the year I did go up to Colorado with my ex for his birthday. And he drained me financially. So I was really on the sacrificial table that year. But I survived. But I think if people were doing things in the privacies of their own homes, which I did have a dream about my ex doing that, and that friend doing things in regards to my energy in their own homes or wherever, I feel like I had multiple people with my energy on their shit, in their jars, on their tables, whatever. And even my ex from home told me, he said he was doing stuff with my pictures. Said he would be with multiple women, but needing to have my pictures. Like, I didn't even need all the details. I just knew, like, you on some stupid, weird, evil, magical shit, and you're trying to benefit off of me. He trying to make it sound like it's love, obsessive love. No, you're just a narcissist, and you lost your grade A supply when you lost me, and you're so desperate to get me back. No shame. And not get me back to love me, get me back to drain me. So all these leeches, literally, it makes sense why the results were what they were when I went to the doctor. Urgent care. But I think it's something for me to, Spirit's like, it's time to reflect on that, because it's been 3 years now. It's about to be 3 years since I took that leave, like to the date be March. But in terms of things happening, that's basically all this first quarter of this year. It's significant. Or this whole year. I think what it is with this being the 3rd year since then, and me turning 36, and that's another 369 situation, I think it's a matter of boomerang, karma, you know. I feel like it's the truth of the symbology behind Jesus, the resurrection of Jesus. I don't think it was no 3-day situation. I think it was a 3-year situation. They sacrificed him at 33. He rose again at 36. And what that rose again mean is to be interpreted. It's not just no physical resurrection. It was a spiritual thing, but he rose in power. And I think it was a 3-year thing. And I think I was targeted to not make it to 36. I'm about to be 36 next Friday. And I don't take no days for granted. I know I could go to sleep and not wake up. And listen, I'll probably be rejoicing when I don't wake up. I'll be rejoicing in spirit. But it's also something about me surviving. Because they have come for my head. Almost everybody I ever had close to me. And that's what makes me cry and hurt and tear up and feel sad, because it's always the people that's close to you. Judas, Jesus, right? It's always your closest. And I'm still a lover, even though I'm more distant with it. I still love. I can still love. I know I can, because there's somebody I still love. And he's not a part of that story that I just told, but unfortunately, he hasn't been the most beneficial character in my life either yet. I feel love. I see him still. I have to. I don't know. Sometimes I hope that we are fellow survivors of potential attempted sacrifices, and that he could see it one day. But I'm not stressed about that. I am going to take my time off. I'm going to be in therapy, take care of myself, and be in the gym, resetting. While spirit is rejecting all that don't belong in my life as a prep for the new zodiac cycle. Reformed. I'm going to leave that there so that I can start getting ready for work. I got a lot to do. Thank you for listening.